Hi, I'd like to show you what a supplier master data app built in less than 4 days looks like in ServiceNow. We're addressing business problems for two personas here. Number one, for the end user who would like to create data within SAP. For example, it's supplier master data, material master data, or equipment master data. And for the master data team who would like to govern these, doing the approvals and checks and reporting all of these before it's written into SAP. The reality is all requests would go through a specific process before the last mile of writing the data into SAP. And this is what we're providing here, giving those guardrails from the end user to the master data team to make sure that the end-to-end process of updating SAP data is governed. Our journey starts with the employee center, where as an employee or as a user, our end user would go in and look for the requests or look for the services that they would like to avail of. In this case, I would like to create a supplier onboarding request because maybe I don't have direct access to SAP Transaction BP, and that's something that needs to be protected, let's say, by the master data team. Now, I'd like to onboard this specific vendor. In this case, I would provide the name of the requests, the supplier organization name, the supplier type in SAP, among other things. And what I would like to do here as well is to validate the address data. So, for example, I would like to add the address data to make sure that it's a legitimate address before it's even written into SAP. I can do several things here. Number one is I could add the country. And for the country, we connect to the SAP table called T005, which contains country data. And we're using remote table capability here to read the data from SAP online. And as you can see here, we're able to see Australia as one of the country entries in T005. Now, for this specific request, I've created a made-up place, 99 Winchesterton Fieldville, in which it's in Sydney, supposedly. And using Google API that's created within this form or that's added within this form, we trigger a subflow saying that, nope, this is an unconfirmed address. So right from there, I'm helping the master data team to kind of self-serve so that I would be able to check if the data or the address data that's from my vendors that I'm onboarding is valid or not. Now, let's change that into the address of a real organization. So you can see here that the address is now confirmed. So now as an end user, I'm ready to submit this so that it can be taken by the master data team so that they can review and approve. Now, the next step is for our master data team then to look at the request. And all they have to do, they can look at the request in detail or they can just approve it. So in this case, I will approve and I'll show you in the back end how it can potentially look like for the master data team when they start reviewing these requests. For this example, let's just hit approve. And what it will do in the back end, it will call two or several protocols or several protocol options with SAP. Number one is BAPI, which is one of the classic protocols out there to write the data into SAP, or potentially OData if your organization is already using systems such as S4HANA. So that shows the journey of how you can potentially update master data with a front end form such as ServiceNow. Now, in the next step, I'll show you how the master data team would be able to use agentic AI to help with their day-to-day request handling of master data requests. Now, let's focus the requirements a bit to make use of AI agents to help onboard suppliers. So instead of address, let's focus on goods supplied and the vendor name and compare that against the purchase information records. So in this case, I would like to onboard a new vendor. Let's call it Hardware Inc. And the company name is Hardware Inc. And they are providing doors. Let's skip the address details for now because what we're doing here is to review the goods that they're providing and check whether there are already suppliers which have provided the same using purchase info records. Now, once I've created that, what I'll do now is I'll show you the workspace that's going to be used by our master data team. So someone creates that, the master data team will then have to log in and see how that would look like. So we have the vendor request, which ends in 98. For those of you who are following the video, let me just open this here. But while I'm opening that, in the back end, we have our agent doing its work. So I'll just go here to Now Assist and look at the latest chat. You can see it's now working on request 98 without me triggering it. So I'll just dismiss all of these alerts. And let me go back there again. Bear with me. Then go back to Now Assist again. And from here, you see all of the steps that are happening. If I just expand this arrow here, you can see the thoughts or the different agents that it's working with. Based on the table entry that's created, it's able to divide the name of the organization and what they're delivering. They're just parsing it for you, like typical conversation. But at the same time, it's triggering several steps. Now it's using the vendor search. So I mentioned earlier that we want to check the purchase information records in SAP. And that's what it's doing, combining different tables such as ANA and LFA1 or maybe BUT000, as well as MAKT if you want material entries, for example, or you can use OData calls as well if you prefer that. And it returns these records. So based on the supplier that you're entering, these are the different goods that have been provided by similar suppliers in the past based on your purchase info records. So for example, we have organizations here called Secure Door Hardware or Hinges Door Brass Limited, for example, or from Brass Accents rather. So it's providing me these recommendations before I even onboard the supplier that I have here with me. Because if, for those of you who have seen our SLO capability, it's a pretty involved step to involve the supplier to do all of these steps. What if from the very start, you can say that, hey, look, I already have different suppliers providing these. We don't need to onboard you. And that's your first check for the necessity. And while I'm just talking, you can see here, the words here are actually record links to the proof that these purchase info records exist or have occurred in the past. So you have a reference. And as I was talking, it's already updated the record for me. So that means you do not have to be in the workspace for the AI agent to do for you, to do the stuff it has presented this for us. Now, again, the key thing here is that as I was talking, we have several agents which were working with each other. The web search agent in the back end, we also have the purchase info record search agent, and finally the vendor record update agent, which we have here. And if I change the status of this one, for example, to write into SAP, then it will trigger a business partner creation, similar to what I have shown you earlier in the address data verification. Now, these are two very discrete features, but you can combine them or put them into one app or into one form. And these capabilities can be done in ServiceNow, or these apps can be done in ServiceNow in as short as 4 days. Simply because components like UI Builder, Flow Designer, ERP Canvas are there, which are drag and drop components that would allow you to arrive at these types of experiences and advanced applications with agentic AI ready to be used by your users and your master data team.